All right, so I guess we'll get going with some singing. So everybody, some of you, well, you've seen Reggie before. So good
Good morning,
morning and
everybody.
welcome to the church in Ocean Park. We're going to put everybody on mute, but we know you're going to be singing really loud as we go. So I am Dr. Kim Harris, and this is
Reggie Harris.
So glad to get to be with you this morning. Oh, and I see Janet, your mother is here. Now she can't be in the waiting room. So help us out as we celebrate. Oh, celebrate for sure. I had a tambourine around here too. On this day we celebrate Juneteenth and we celebrate Father's Day, still celebrating Pride Month and just having a great time. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Now, yes, take a good stretch because there's going to be lots of singing this morning. And get yourself, yeah. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, freedom over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Now, our enslaved and free ancestors, they had different ways of putting the verses in. When they talked about darkness, they were talking about slavery. When they talked about daylight, morning, sunrise, they were talking about freedom. No more darkness, no more darkness, no more darkness over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. There'll be glory, there'll be glory, there'll be glory over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. And like so many of the songs, this one moved forward with the people, and they kept on singing, no segregation. No segregation, no segregation, no segregation over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave, and I'll fight for my right to be free. No more Jim Crow, no more Jim Crow, no more Jim Crow over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave, and I'll fight for my right to be free. Now, what do we need to sing these days? Like, no voter suppression. No voter suppression. No voter suppression over me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave, and I'll fight fight for my right to be free. Oh, freedom, oh, freedom,
freedom,
oh, freedom, oh, freedom, oh, me. And before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave, and I'll fight for my right to be free. Yes, before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave, and I'll fight for my right to be free. Yes, before I'd be a slave, I'd be buried in my grave, and I'll fight for my right to be free, to be free. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Hallelujah.
Woo.
Oh my goodness, that was amazing. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Reggie. Good morning, church. I'm Trudy Goodwin, and I'm a member of the church in Ocean Park, and I'm here to welcome you to this unique interfaith community that is dedicated to social justice. You may be wondering if you are welcome here. Well, being an interfaith church, you are welcome if you are Jewish, if you are Muslim, or if you're Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, atheist, or some other combination of something altogether. We extend a special invitation to those who are single, married, divorced, gay, transgender, filthy rich, or living on the edge. We extend a special invitation to those who are crying newborns, just browsing, just woke up, or just got out of jail. We don't care if you're more religious than the Pope or haven't been to church since your nephew's baptism. We extend a special invitation to those who are over 40 but have not grown up yet, and to teenagers who are growing up too fast. We invite soccer moms, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegetarians, junk food eaters. We invite those who are in recovery or still dependent. We invite you if you've had problems or if you're down in the dumps. We welcome those who like organized religion and those who don't. We offer a special invitation to those who work too hard, don't work, can't spell, or because they are bored with staying home all day and heard that this is a strange church. We invite those who are inked, pierced, or both. We offer a special invitation to those who could use a prayer right now or had religion stuffed down their throats as a kid. We invite tourists, seekers, doubters, and especially you. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Trudy. I'm the Reverend Janet Gollery McKeithen, and I also welcome you to the church in Ocean Park. I'm excited this morning that we're finally able to celebrate a Juneteenth holiday. This provides an opening for the general public to learn something important that they may not know, and for us to know it more fully. This morning, you're a part of a community that's working for this kind of increased awareness, a community that actively works to educate ourselves and other people about who we really are as a community and as a nation, a community that actively works for more equity and more love in the world. We do our justice work in a way that celebrates life. And this morning, that's what we're going to do together. But I'd like first to acknowledge the land that we're sitting on. We, the settlers of this land, honor the Kizh, Tongva, Chumash peoples, or wherever you are, honoring the people who, First Nation people where you are. We are grateful. We thank you. May we become good guests upon your land. We acknowledge the harms of genocide, enslavement, forced assimilation, gender violence, destruction of sacred sites, and burial of historic truth about Indigenous suffering at the hands of U.S. colonial settlerism. We apologize for the harm by pledging ourselves to be part of a culture of repair. Let us join our hearts to the protection of sacred sites and villages, as well as to the Indigenous people who live among us still. At the church in Ocean Park, you heard from Trudy that we are a diverse community, and because of that, there may be some things that are said that you don't agree with. Just know that there is no one person who speaks for the church in Ocean Park, and that your voice is just as important as whoever just spoke. We are so blessed with the riches among us. You've already heard from Trudy and from Dr. Kim Harris and Reggie Harris, and they will be bringing us the message this morning. Dr. Kim and Reggie Harris have been a vibrant force in the international music community for over 40 years. It's unusual for someone who's 25 years old. Musicians,
that would be her.
Lecturers, elders, and social justice advocates who sing of history, life's joys and challenges, human rights and the environment, and they fuel inspiration. They've performed and lectured throughout the United States, Canada, and Europe. They're champions of the songs of the Underground Railroad and the U.S. modern civil rights movement. Dr. Kim is a member of the church in Ocean Park and on the Sunday service team. And she's an assistant professor of African American thought and practice and theological studies at Loyola Marymount University in Los Angeles. Reggie's new album, On Solid Ground, is #1 on the Folk Alliance Top Albums of the Month at reggieharrismusic.com. And we gratefully turn to them now for a song. Welcome, Dr. Kim and Reggie Harris.
Thanks so much, Reverend Janet. Well, as we said at the beginning, today we're celebrating many things and thinking about Father's Day, a day to remember people who have nurtured families, people who have nurtured children, people who have nurtured, there are different kinds of fathers. There are adopted fathers and biological fathers and found fathers and oh, what a father, But what's very interesting is that we sing a lot of spirituals, and the spirituals continue to teach us as we go. And when I think about those who found their freedom, those who celebrated freedom on the original Juneteenth, those who were glad to be free after their Emancipation Proclamation, those who were in Texas, they could have stayed, but what the historians tell us is that many people left, and they left Texas because they were trying to find their families who had been sold away from them, who had been taken away from them. And so we're going to sing a song that, I grew up hearing this song as a lullaby, but what the ancestors taught me was that sometimes when they sang this song, they were saying, those mothers and those fathers were saying, I can't watch over you. You've been taken from me. And so I can only hope and trust that the angels are watching over you now. All night, all day, angels are watching over me, my Lord. All night, all day, angels are watching over me. All night, all watching over me, my Lord, all night. Oh, they are angels watching over me. Oh, when I lay me down to sleep, oh, the angels watching over me, my Lord. I pray the Lord my soul to keep. Oh, the angels watching over me. Now, if you get there before I do, oh, the angels watching over me, my Lord. Tell all of my friends I'm coming to. All the angels watching over me. They're watching all night. All day. Oh, the angels watching over me, my Lord. All night. All day. Oh, the angels watching over me. Let's sing again. All night. All day. All the angels watching over me, my Lord. All night. All day. All the angels watching over me. Oh, the angels watching over me. Oh, the angels watching over me. Welcome, Chris Chandler.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, good. All right. Thank you, Reverend Janet, Dr. Kim, and all of you in the Church of Ocean Park for asking me to share today. I want to thank you in advance for indulging me in sharing some personal experiences of fatherhood in the midst of this incredibly joyous celebration of Juneteenth, an occasion that would have meant a lot to both my father and his father. My name is Christopher Michael Chandler, and I am the son of Christopher Norris Chandler. My parents in 1966 were planning on naming me, their first child, Cassius, but I guess they balked at naming me Muhammad in February of 1967. Their backup plan was to name me after my father, but my father insisted that I have a different middle name in the event that I didn't like him as an adult. He wanted me to have a ready option, a story I didn't understand very much growing up. My father was and is a hero to me, and the fact that I knew my father and that he didn't suck is another blessing in my life, which has been very full of such accidents of privilege. One of the most important things I get from my father and his father is a commitment to being active politically. My grandfather, Edgar, was a Congregationalist minister who resettled refugees from World War II in Europe in the 50s. In the 60s, he moved to Chicago, and as a member of the Ecumenical Council, was part of the group responsible for bringing Reverend King to Chicago. He later was driven out of Chicago by the Mayor Daley, who took a dislike to my grandfather, who burst into his office to tell him that the shoot to kill order during the riots after Martin Luther King's assassination was morally objectionable and had to change. And Daley went along with the suggestion, but apparently took a note and said that guy has to leave Chicago. I think that's something to be proud of. My father was a journalist. He worked at the Sun-Times as an education correspondent, but he covered the 1968 convention. And later, he helped expose the Chicago Police Department's cover-up of their murder of Black Panther leader Fred Hampton. When I was a senior in high school, my dad got a job as the press secretary for Harold Washington's initial mayoral campaign. I personally have a much less impressive record. I've rarely hit the high water mark of working on that campaign since then, but I like to think that I'm doing and trying my best in this world full of challenges. My father was no saint. He drank too much beer and smoked too much grass. This and his uncompromising political stances eventually burned the bridges with most of his employers. He spent the last decade of his working career as a cab driver. But of course, up until his death, he was the editor and publisher of a monthly newsletter pressing for the creation of a cab drivers union. He really wanted to take on Uber. He remained a diehard radical in most of his political contexts. As he got older, he oddly and strangely became more and more socially conservative on some issues. For example, and this was very vexing to me, he believed that there were fundamental differences rooted in biology between men and women, and he believed that the best family arrangement was a man and a woman committed to each other for life for the purposes of raising children. The thing is this is an incredibly ironic statement from him, considering that his own life really proved much different point. He was married and divorced 3 times. He had 4 sons with those 3 wives, and the 3rd wife brought 4 children of her own to the party. By far, the greatest testament to his ability as a parent is that somehow the 8 of us children, a motley collection of steps and halves, are very close, united by our love of him and his love for us. Despite what he said and claimed to believe, and I can't emphasize this enough, I know for a fact that being a good father has little to nothing to do with biology. I myself am father to Dashiell Chandler, an amazingly differently abled 22-year-old graduate of Santa Monica High School and a member of the church in Ocean Park. I've heard it said that the sins of the father are visited upon subsequent generations. And while I don't really believe too much in that, but I did think to myself that the virtues may also be passed on. My father never laid a hand on me, rarely raised his voice, and was famous for his patience. And these are all things that I didn't fully appreciate until I was a father myself. Being the father of a child with special needs has been challenging in ways that require a lot more time to share properly. But one truth I've learned is that my pride and joy and sense of accomplishment have nothing to do with anything I feel I've done and everything to do with the amazing child I helped create 22 years ago. My father died 2 years ago from prostate cancer that went undiscovered for years due to his outright suspicion of the medical profession and his lack of care for himself. I wonder all the time about the difference between masculinity and toxic masculinity in our modern age. And I don't really have any answers, but I would like to share that I think men of my age and above probably need to be regularly reminded that there's nothing weak about seeking self-care. Thank you all very much for listening to me. And happy Father's Day.
Thank you so much, Chris. Thank you. and happy Father's Day to you. We'd like to show you now a video of Reggie. And you might say, he's showing a video, but he's right here. He is an amazing guitar player, but how long ago now?
3 months.
3 months ago, he slipped on some ice and got a fracture.
I'm able to make a fist, but I'm not able to put enough pressure on the strings to actually play quite yet.
So here's one of his original songs that we really wanted to do today with the guitar. And this song is called Walkin' Down That Freedom Road. And there it is.
Freedom Road. Yeah, walking down the Freedom Road, we're moving. Cincinnati, we're walking down the Freedom Road. What's that closer to the promised land? Walking down the Freedom Road, we're moving. Cincinnati, we're walking down the Freedom Road. What's that closer to the promised land? Oh, child, keep your hands on the plow. You gotta make a new way. Oh, Papa, it's been so long. A voice cries out, you're just not ready. He says, keep your eyes on the prize. We're gonna make it someday. Oh, we're walking down the freedom road. We're moving, chasing that dream. Walking down the freedom road. One step closer to the promised land. Some say we're wasting our time, but we're moving, chasing that dream. Not gonna pay no mind. One step closer to the promised land. Oh, 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 hey, hey, hey. Oh, oh, keeping that fire burning, moving. Hey, we're never gonna let it go out. Moving. I feel that the tide's turning. Eyes on the prize, hands on that plow. Come too far to start turning back now. Standing on the banks of Jordan, we are wise and strong. And now we're walking down a freedom road. We're moving, chasing that dream. Walking down that freedom road. One step closer to the promised land. Some say we're wasting our time. We're moving, chasing that dream. Not gonna pay 'em no mind. One step closer to the promised land. Walking down the freedom road. We're moving, chasing that dream. Walking down the freedom road. One step closer to the promised land. Walking down the freedom road. We're moving, chasing that dream. We're walking down that freedom road. One step closer to the promise, closer to the promise, closer to the promised land. Yeah.
Wow. So, Craig Ali, I know you have something really important for us to hear. So please, are y'all set?
Thank you very, very much. And let me first say that the whole question and benefit of Juneteenth, one of the key benefits of Juneteenth was indeed citizenship. And the reason why I say citizenship is that up to this point, African Americans and or slaves were not deemed as citizens based on the Constitution. An amendment to the Constitution is what gives us our citizenship, namely the 14th Amendment, which states all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of the liberty or property within due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the law. Having said that, before there could be the 14th Amendment, there had to be a 13th Amendment, and as a result, a warning to Texas, which was the last state admitted into the Union as a slave state. So under General Order 3, General Gordon Granger saw fit to walk that freedom road down to Texas, where Texas had refused to honor what was already in place. And as a result, with those troops, he said, essentially, you're free. And it reminds me so much of something that I've heard in the church, so often and repeated so often, chiefly by the minister. I'm not free if you're not free. You're not free if I'm not free. So I'm not stopping till we're all are free. Juneteenth, 1865 was when that became an issue throughout the land, not just for Texas, but for all America. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That's wonderful. That's a great segue to the song I'm going to sing. I'm Louise Dobbs, Minister of Music here, and I'm delighted to be here and share with you this song that I learned from the singing of Solomon Burke. And these words are in the chat here. And this is called None of Us Are Free. Well, you better listen, sisters and brothers, 'cause if you do, you can't hear. There are voices still calling across the years, and they're crying across the ocean, they're crying across the land. And if they will till we understand, none of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. Try that with me. None of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. And there are people still in darkness, and they just can't see the light. If you don't say that it's wrong, then he says it's right. We got to try to feel for each other. Let our sisters know that we care. Got to get the message and send it out loud and clear. None of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us are free. Now I swear your salvation isn't too hard to find. None of us can find it on our own. We've got to join together in spirit, heart, and mind, so that every soul who's suffering will know we're not alone. None of us are free. None of us are free. None of us are free. If one of us is chained, none of us is free. If you just look around you, you're gonna see what I say, 'cause the world is getting smaller each passing day. Now it's time to start making changes. It's time for us to realize that the truth is shining bright right before our eyes. None of us is free. None of us is free. None of us is free. If one of us is chained, none of us is free. 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 If one of us is chained, none of us are free. it is my pleasure to introduce Ross Altman to you. Ross, just a brief introduction here. Ross Altman, he's known as the singer-songwriter in Los Angeles, has a PhD in modern literature from SUNY Binghamton and belongs to Local 47. He's a musician in a musicians union. He's the president of the Santa Monica Traditional Folk Music Club. He writes a monthly magazine and a monthly article in Folkworks magazine. And he has performed mostly his original songs and topical songs all across Southern California and beyond. I believe his motto, one of his mottos, is to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. Ross has been singing and presenting labor songs at church in Ocean Park every year on Labor Day for at least 30 years. He is also a Communitas honoree. Please welcome Ross, who's going to share his song he wrote celebrating Juneteenth. Welcome, Ross. Speak to us from your phone.
Thank you so much, Louise. What a wonderful introduction. I really appreciate it. And beautiful song by Solomon Burke that you performed. That was lovely. I'm doing this song that I have been doing actually because Trudy kept inviting me back to the church. I've been doing this. I wrote this song in 2005, but it's for the first time. It's actually on an album now that I just put out called "If Not Now, When." The title comes from Rabbi Hillel. So I have. If this were a normal situation, I would have brought copies of the album to the church. But since we're on Zoom, I'm just mentioning it. So anybody who wants a copy of it, please let me know. I'm starting with a poem that was written by church member Chuck Howell, and it's called Juneteenth. And he recited this poem back in, I think, about 2015 or so. But it's in my Juneteenth file, and so I wanted to open with the poem that Chuck wrote, and it goes like this: Juneteenth by Charles Howell. On the 19th day of June in 1865, there came the news we'd waited for since in shackles we'd first arrived. A ship sailed into Jamestown 200 years before. The first of slaves from Africa were brought to America's shore. We were sold to the sons of aristocrats from Europe's chosen few, like cattle used for labor in this land so strange and new. We worked the tobacco and cotton fields from dawn to setting sun. Not a penny paid for profits made for these finest of Europe's sons. There are many tales of horror, of rape and lynching and worse. These tales of old still haunt men's souls as we remember this awful curse. There were those who fought for justice. Thank God for Harriet and John. Harriet Tubman and John Brown. Change finally came with Lincoln, and an awful war was won. A ship sailed into Galveston with news from Washington. We'd been set free 2 years before. The news was slow to come. We were filled with jubilation as we laid down our cotton sacks. We headed north and east and west, as with sadness we look back. Now we celebrate our freedom on this Juneteenth holiday. Not one is free when no one is held in the chains of slavery. By Chuck Howell. Isn't that wonderful? And now
Yes.
he mentions this holiday, and because of the acts of Congress and the president and vice president who signed it into law, just last Thursday. Juneteenth is actually a federal holiday now, one of 11 federal holidays. And the most recent was Martin Luther King Day back in 1983. So we haven't had a new holiday, a new federal holiday since 1983. How wonderful it is that the next new holiday would have been Juneteenth. All right, this song is called Juneteenth 1865 from my new album, If Not Now, When? News didn't travel fast in 1863. It took 2 years before we learned of the end of slavery. June 19th in Texas, we held a celebration. We got the word, we finally heard of the Emancipation Proclamation. On the first day of January in 1863, President Lincoln told the slaves, from this day forth you're free. But they didn't exactly broadcast it from the rooftops to the skies. They kept it kind of quiet, so it came as quite a surprise. Shh, don't tell Nellie. Shh, don't tell Sue. You never can tell what a slave might do if they find out it's true. Shh, don't tell Sam. Shh, don't tell Joe. You never can tell where a slave might go if they find out it's so. We heard it through the grapevine, from one slave to another. A brother told his sister and a child told his mother. Did you hear what folks been saying at the Dalrymple plantation? Looks like old Abe Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Shh, don't tell Nellie. Shh, don't tell Sue. You never can tell what a slave might do if they find out it's true. Shh, don't tell Sam. Shh, don't tell Joe. You never can tell where a slave might go if they find out it's so. I was down at the hen house gathering up the eggs when Jimbo came and said, "Oh, master, let the cat out of the bag. It's the greatest day a-comin'. Freedom's finally here. You can sound the alarm from farm to farm. We're free at last, my dear." Shout it. Tell old grandma, shout it. Tell grandpa too, you live to say the day, to see the day the chains fell off of me and you. Shout it. Tell old grandma, shout it. Tell grandpa too, you live to see the day the chains fell off of me and you. Some found out on the 13th, 14th and 15th too. The 16th, 17th, 18th, and 19th. So here's what we decided to do. We couldn't have 7 holidays or put it in between. So we rolled it all into one big day and just called it Juneteenth. Shout it. Tell old grandma, shout it. Tell grandpa too, you live to see the day the chains fell off of me and you. Shout it. Tell old grandma, shout it. Tell grandpa too, you live to see the day the chains fell off of me and you. Juneteenth,
God.
1865.
Oh my God.
Thank you so much, Ross. And
I want to say,
Trudy, I see you.
I just want to say I didn't you didn't hear me play guitar because like Reggie had his fall on the ice. I had a stroke a year and a half ago, and I haven't been able to play guitar since. So I'm still able to sing. So you'll hear the complete guitar supported version on the album. If not now, when? Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Trudy. Thank you, Reverend Janet. And thank you, Louise. And thank you, Chuck, for that beautiful poem to start with.
Thank you so much, Ross.
That's what I have to say.
Thanks for accepting the invitation and, for continuing to come and to sing for us, because this isn't the first time. Always great to hear your voice. Always great. Well,
Thank you so
Reggie
much.
and I kept thinking, what message would we bring? There's been so much that we've, that has been going on since we all got together about an hour ago. And there's not too much more that need be said, but I will say how I felt this week. I knew Juneteenth was coming, of course, but when I heard first that the House, first that the Senate had passed it, right? And then that the House had passed it, the first thing I felt was empty. I didn't have a feeling. I wasn't, jumping around and whooping it up. And, I really felt empty. And, I've been thinking about Juneteenth a long time. Part of my doctoral dissertation, part of the examinations was to write about freedom celebrations. And of course, in various states, freedom came at different times. New York State, about like October 22nd, when they outlawed slavery, and even that was incomplete, so different states had different ways of thinking about it. And even last night I was with a group of people from Canada, and they said, well, we celebrate when slavery left the British Empire, so we celebrate on August the 1st, because in 1838, that's when they got freedom. But this week, at first, I felt empty. Then I heard that most of the House passed it, and I thought, And then the next day, I looked and I saw that, President Biden was signing it. Everything was moving so fast. And then they said, it's going to be a holiday. And people said, ooh, federal workers are going to get the day off tomorrow. That was quick. And the only thing I could think of is some people thought, I wish I had known I was going to have a 3-day weekend. But I also thought about people at Loyola Marymount, because they gave everyone off at LMU starting last year. So I was proud that we were a little bit ahead of the game. But then things began to well up inside of me. And by yesterday, when I called my mom at the usual time, 8 a.m. Eastern time, I call her every day, and we do stretches, and we do it old school. We use a telephone. We don't get on Zoom. And the first song that she played, and we welcomed the morning with stretches, she played Lift Every Voice and Sing. And I felt the tears starting to come as I heard that Black national anthem, Lift Every Voice and Sing, with that last verse that's like a prayer. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, thou who has brought us thus far on the way, thou who has by thy might led us into the light, keep us forever in the path we pray. And I thought of my great-grandmother, Annabelle Jackson, who was daughter of a slave, and I knew my great-grandmother. And I thought about the ancestors who had prayed and hoped for this day, even as we know there is much more we have to do, so much further we have to go. And yet, even knowing that we have further to go, I know that it is good to take a moment and to celebrate.
God of our weary years, God of our silent tears. So much of the last 2 years has been spent allowing tears to flow and centering ourselves on our weariness, because the journey has been hard and it's been long. And that song really captures the immense emotion of the struggle, because there is no day off. And so I was thinking about the fact that we have a national holiday, and very grateful for that. I'm grateful that in this moment, all of the various machinations and events and happenings that came together to cause a Congress that has had not just great difficulty, but tremendous reluctance to recognize what slavery has been in America. And as I heard the speedy movement toward making it a national holiday, I also felt empty. I felt that in many ways this is a gift, but it should not be a gift because we are citizens of this land. We have been since before it was a land because we helped to build the land. And the acknowledgement of freedom and emancipation is something that comes with a very heavy price. It comes with years and years of Tulsas and Oaklands and Philadelphias and Detroits and Jamestowns and all of the various places where blood has been shed and struggle has been unrecognized. But I found myself in that moment also hopeful that those who signed on for whatever reason they chose in this moment to sign on, and we can examine that as time goes on. We cannot be complacent that this one recognition solves the bigger problem. We cannot be so joyful in this moment, and this is the great challenge of our work. As Reverend C.T. Vivian says, we know that we are engaged in work that is bigger than all of us, and that we are indeed just doing our part. The joy of the work is that we are doing it together. And so we celebrate the fact that another piece has fallen into place. But it is also a wake-up call, because we realize that the struggle continues. And we cannot look at the gift that has been given, this national acknowledgement of slavery's ending in our nation, and the delay that it took to announce that ending. We cannot look at that and say, oh, we are done, because we know, in fact, we are not. So in this moment, a song rises that was written by Yara Allen. She works alongside of Reverend William C. Barber. Many of you, I'm sure, are very familiar with his work with the NAACP in North Carolina, with Moral Mondays, and with Repairers of the Breach, with the Poor People's March. He understood the power of song, and so from the very beginning, he has had Yara Allen as his minister of culture and theomusicologist. She travels with him to prepare the atmosphere for rallies and for conferences and for the work that they do, singing songs to get people's hearts and minds ready, as has happened since that early time when the spirituals began to rise up. And in her work, she said on one occasion, she was singing a series of songs before a rally, and he turned to her and he said, "We need one more song." And she said, "I was dry." My brain went off, and I said to myself, I can't think of another song. But she stepped to the microphone, and she said in that moment, she said in trust and in hope, I'm going to open my mouth, and the first thing that comes out will be the song I sing. And as she opened her mouth, this is what came out. Somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on much too long. Yeah, it's gone on much too long. Well, it's gone on much too long. Well, somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on much too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Well, somebody's been hurting my sister, and it's gone on much too long. Yeah, it's gone on much too long. It's gone on much too long. Well, somebody's been hurting my sister, and it's gone on much too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Well, somebody's been killing our children, and it's gone on much too long. Well, it's gone on much too long. It's gone on much too long. Well, somebody's been killing our children, and it's gone on much too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Well, somebody's been stealing our health care, and it's gone on much too long. Well, it's gone on much too long. Well, it's gone on much too long. Well, somebody's been stealing our health care, and it's gone on much too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Well, somebody's been suppressing our voting, and it's gone on much too long. Well, it's gone on much too long. Well, it's gone on much too long. Well, somebody's been suppressing our voting, and it's gone on much too long. And we won't be silent anymore. Well, somebody's been hurting my brother, and it's gone on much too long. Hey, it's gone on much too long. Well, it's gone on much too long. Well, somebody's been hurting my sister, and it's gone on much too long. And we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore. And we won't be silent anymore. Onward in light.
And it's time now for community sharing. You can raise your hand in the participant menu or just go like this and I'll call on you.
Thank you. Well, as you know, we've been doing these services on Juneteenth for a while at the church. And I've been trying to get my head around what making this a formal federal holiday means to me, and especially in light of all the anger I sort of have, I guess, toward what's happening politically. But yesterday I was hearing on television in a Jubilee celebration, a beauty contest of young Black women as part of the celebration in Texas. And I really loved what came out of it because I think it spoke to what I think I can make of this holiday coming to this country. And that's that it is the holiday marks the ending of one race owning another in the name of white supremacy. And once that was supposedly ending, the race that was owned claiming freedom and defining, I can't remember the number, but defining something like 13 freedoms that their ancestors did not have, that they now have, or are claiming and defining. And I sort of coming more to terms with this in conversations I've been having with Maureen Dean, and think of it, how constricted the number of freedoms we can strive for if we only want to be white supremacists. And we don't draw on the vast breadth of mankind and some of the freedoms that indigenous cultures can present to us that is going to make this country and its ideas and its democracy richer. And And then I can look at those freedoms, and it gives me a better idea of the choices I really have in my life. And it's not so constricted. Thank you.
Thank you, Claudia. Linda Bond.
Thank you. I'm sort of overwhelmed by the cornucopia of gifts that everyone brings to this congregation. And I'm in awe, really, of everything that everybody gives. So I just want to, people who put up with me in the CRJ book group know that one of the gifts that I bring is that I read the history. And I want to share something that I read because I think it's important that people understand a little more about what actually happened in Galveston on June 19th, 1865. And this is from an article written by Robin Washington in the foreword that I will put a link in the chat. But it is not that General Granger arrived to inform enslaved African Americans that they were free. He arrived to inform the slave owners at the barrel of a gun that they would no longer be allowed to enslave people. And historians who interviewed formerly enslaved people in Texas say, for example, here's a quote from historian Gregory P. Downs. Quote, "We knew what was going on in the war all the time," said Felix Hayward, who was enslaved in Texas. Hayward was in no way an anomaly, but representative of the majority of the enslaved population. Hayward goes on, "We all felt like heroes, and nobody had made us that way but ourselves." So I just sort of want to, I want to say that freedom was and always is fought for. That Granger arrived in Galveston not to bring the news to enslaved people like, whoopee, they're free, but to let slave owner knows that that wasn't going to happen no more. And we got the guns to make sure that doesn't happen. And that Black soldiers played an extremely important part in that victory. And I just think the history matters. So thank you for letting me share my little gift.
Thank you, Linda. Craig Ali, your turn.
I want to thank Linda specifically, but also Reggie for the reminder, because even under this period of recognition, there's still much work that needs to be done, because there's resistance to addressing the CRT, which is critical race theory. And, you know, I feel very fortunate to be among a group of folks that I can share the knowledge that exists, because those same folks that propose a resistance to, you know, the whole question of critical race theory want to deny the idea or the fact that what happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma 100 years ago did actually happen. And under that guise, generations of children may not accept or be taught what our experience has been. And that's the crucial thing here as we step forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Rachel Rose, please.
Good morning, everyone. What a wonderful celebration this morning. Thank you to Thank you for the songs and the uplifting spirits. And it is gratifying that the federal government has recognized Juneteenth by declaring a federal holiday. And I don't want to necessarily take away from that celebration. But when I first heard about the federal holiday, I had great mixed feelings about it. For those Republicans, especially in the Senate, to sit there and vote in favor of this, while on one hand, and in the other hand, deny us the People's Act is the height of hypocrisy. And I'm very angry about that. We can appreciate them for voting in favor of the holiday, but what does that really mean coming from them when they continue on the federal and on the state level to oppress Black people, brown people, LGBTQ people? To me, it rings hollow. And the reason I wrote in the chat, we cannot be complacent, as Reggie said. We cannot be complacent. We have to continue to fight. And I just, like I said, my emotions on this is very mixed, because I just, the height of hypocrisy coming from these people is absolutely astounding. At the same time, making this a federal holiday hopefully will elevate the masses, the general public, to have a better understanding of our history and the need for, call it critical race theory, call it whatever you want, but a full education of America's, of the United States history, and not whitewashing it. So I'm just really, kind of torn between the two.
Thank you, Rachel. Okay, Trudy Goodwin.
As you can imagine, I have so much to say about the federal government signing into law this recognition of emancipation. I think Rachel hit on just about every point that needs to be said. I put in the chat a copy of a link to a video that I helped to create for my employer, Dignity and Power Now. And there's like 6 or 7 folks from my job that I got to be interviewed or to speak out about the signing of the signing into law, the Emancipation Proclamation recognition. And they pretty much echo exactly what Rachel said. And I think that it is a testimony to the depth and love and emotional intelligence of our community, that you can have folks like Rachel and Chuck Howell and Ross Altman come on and deliver such amazing recognition to this holiday, and let folks know what this day means to them. And we're talking about white people, y'all. It would be different if this was a Black congregation, but it is not mainly a Black congregation. And I'm just so proud to be here today. And lastly, Reggie and Kim, oh my God, you guys just breathe life into this beautiful ceremony today. And I just want to thank you folks for sharing your gifts of music and knowledge with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Trudy. Okay, next, Barbara Ollinger.
Hi, I'm probably not known to many people. Some of you I know very well, and I kind of dip in once a year or whatever, but I am so grateful to be here. I think I just want to add another component to this all, that in trying to work through my white privilege and working to understand my processes, I know so many white people who think well, who do well, but they come from an intellectual perspective. They still don't want to feel a vulnerability. So they act well, but there's a hollowness, I think. So my personal journey is to feel deeper and deeper and deeper emotionally about anti-racism, what's going on. And it's really hard. My job is basically trying to help people hold their pain. So I think for me personally, combining intellectual knowledge, historical knowledge, but keeping it from the heart, keeping it through my vulnerability and my pain for other people and myself and the whole existence of humankind is so crucial. And these kind of experiences keep my heart open. And that's, I think, so important, because for me, true social justice has to come from the heart, not from the head. And it's really painful. And a lot of white people I know are just not willing to feel that pain. And so it perpetuates white privilege big time. So anyway, I just am trying to feel and feel and feel deeper and deeper and get an emotional sense of what racism and structural racism and individual racism is. So anyway, I wanted to thank you, because this brings it all to a lovely, lovely focus. So anyway, thanks, and hopefully I'll see you more often. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Barbara. Welcome. Okay, I think that brings our community sharing to a close. Is there another song, Kim and Reggie?
There is. Who wrote this one?
Joshua Campbell, who was graduating from Harvard. He wrote it in celebration of Representative John Lewis. And it's a song that says, I'm going to sing out, I'm going to march on. The chorus goes like this. I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Hey, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Hey, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Well, I march through the storm, and I march through the rain, and I march through some sickness, through heartache and pain. I laid down on the ground, looked up at the sky, and I prayed in my misery, and then I asked why. I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Hey, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Now sometimes I get tired, but I'm not through marching yet. I will march till I die, on that you can bet. Oh, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, well, my granddaddy marched, and my grandmama too. Never thought I'd still be marching, it's what we must do. I'll march when I must, I'm on a mission, you see. And I know one day my children might be marching for me. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out, I'm gonna march march on. Yeah, I'm gonna sing out. I'm gonna march on. I'm gonna sing out. I'm gonna march on. Well, now I believe in the power of raising my voice, and I believe in the power of making some noise. If I die, I can't sing, but if I can't sing, I'll die. So let's live for one another as we give it a try. I'm gonna sing out. I'm gonna march on. I'm gonna sing out. I'm gonna sing it over, sing it. I'm gonna sing out. I'm gonna sing I'm gonna sing out. I'm gonna march on.
And did we sing to you, Craig Ali?
I had a birthday Thursday.
All right.
God willing.
Amen. So, and who else has a birthday or an anniversary? And then after that, we will have our ritual of remembrance. So, okay, we're going to sing to you, Craig. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Craig. Happy birthday to you, Craig Ali.
I feel blessed. Thank you.
So, Jean, please, if you would.
Fathers who've passed, biological fathers, adopted fathers, found fathers, like my professor, Dr. McKeithen, who I spent 4 years working for, and he was like a father. For all the fathers who were enslaved people who didn't know where their children were, for all the children who were enslaved and didn't know where their fathers were, we sing a remembrance to them. These do I remember then. These do I remember well. These do I remember well. These do I remember well. Through all the years, one more time. These do I remember well. 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 Through all the years. And remembering Ross's wife, and he mentioned one other person. I'm sorry, I don't remember Ross, but remembering all those who passed.
My sister Maureen.
His sister Maureen. Remembering all of them.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jean. And Reggie and I just have one more quick song to do here, and thanks everybody for staying. I know this was a very full celebration. So this is call and response. So just sing loud in your Zoom room. I'm on my way.
I'm on my way
to freedom land.
To freedom land.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way
to freedom land.
Freedom land.
I'm on my way.
I'm on my way
to freedom land.
To freedom land.
I'm on my way on my way.
On my way.
Turn back.
My way.
My way. I won't turn back. I'm on my way. Oh, I won't turn back. I'm on my way. Oh, yes, I'm on my way. Now, if you don't go, don't stop me now. If you don't go, don't stop me now. If you don't go, don't stop me now. I'm on my way. Oh, yes, I'm on my way. Freedom land. I'm on my way.
I'm on my way
to freedom land.
Freedom land.
I'm on my way. To freedom land. I'm on my way.
I'm on my way.
Freedom land. I'm on my way. Oh, yes, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Oh, yes, I'm on my way. I'm on my way. Oh, yes, I'm on my way.
Maybe they're done. All right, everybody unmute. We give thanks for Kim and Reggie and for Chris Chandler and for Craig Ali and Trudy and everybody, Louise, everybody who was a part of the service for you. We raise our hands and we grab hands around the world together because we're in a huge circle that doesn't leave anybody out, even people we can't see, people we don't know, people we would step over, people we ignore, people we don't agree with, and people we do agree with, all of our community. And we say together, carry on. 1, 2, 3.
Carry
on. Carry on.
Thank you all for being here. It's beautiful.
Thank you.